Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I don't know if we'd really call it an astrological segment. It's a segment. I might incorporate a little astrology into it, so it might be somewhat of an astrological segment. But I'm going to be talking about, some misconceptions regarding me. And the thing about this is the first thing I want to get at is that there was one time somebody had wrote me and said something like, Edwin, I bet you got all kinds of women, clamoring. I don't know what the word was, basically clamoring for my attention, or this and that, which is, couldn't be further from the truth. To be honest with you, very few women have actually contacted me in hopes of some, romantic connection, what have you, and that's not true by any means. It's not true by any means. I'd be lucky if I averaged one woman per year in my close to 11 years doing this. So I just want to clarify that's certainly not the case. And I still, as you could tell me, I don't have anybody in my life, and I may never have as far as a significant other. And some people just aren't meant to have anybody or what have you. The the reality too is another thing I want to get. And I'm referring to this because I want to make sure that I'm covering everything, just kind of going through everything systematically on here. The family thing. Some of you may have known about that before. Talked about is that there's very little to no family at this point in time for me, whether it's biological or anything that's extended. I have some of you may know I never procreated. I never have any. I don't have any children. There's no there's nothing at this point. Virtually that my family is virtually annihilated at this point in time. There's really not little close connections or anything with me right now. And uh, let's see. The next thing I want to get at, as far as holidays go. I want to tell people out there, anyone that thinks that I get invites, left and right to go, because people know me from the YouTube astrology videos, that get invites to do anything on the holidays. No, um, there's nobody, and I'll probably spend my own birthday by myself again. It's coming up in about a couple weeks, so and I'm used to this at this point in time. The Christmas and everything. Nobody really contacts me. You see a lot of some of these YouTube astrologers. You'll see them have some women by them, and and then they get this attention, and people just want to connect with them. I think part of my problem is the fact that, again, not to be redundant, but as I've stated in previous videos, as many of you may know, I have the comments disabled, and I think, really, I think people kind of overreact a little with that. It's like, okay, well, you're going to disable comments, so I'm not going to even try to reach out or contact you. Somebody wrote me on the I don't know what it was. It was on. It was they sent. Well, I know but I'm not going to say words. But they sent me a message about stating they can't thank me because I have for my work I do in the astrology videos. They can't thank me because I'd have the comments disabled. That message contradicted itself because you obviously were able to contact me. And you didn't need the comments enabled in order to do that. It's just like it's picking. It's just looking for things. You know, and some. Let's see. The next thing I'm going to get at, talk about. Well, that fundraiser. I have. It's interesting. Ever since I guess you could say I revised. I made a new video regarding the fundraiser. I don't know what happened. I got a robust one donation in about a week and a half time period. I don't know. People say, Edwin, you have all these people that care about you and they support you and do this and that. Well, it's obviously not showing at this point in time. I feel that sadly a lot of people have just dissipated into thin air. I will say one thing as far as the comments ago, and having when I had them enabled, I would say there was a lot more activity and communication. But as many of you may know, part of the reason I disabled them is because of the time constraints. And as far as it was too tedious and time consuming to keep answering these questions. And people wanted to get all this free information pertaining to their astrology charts, and I just don't really feel it's justified at this point in time. You consider my life, my living situation, what have you. At this point, you have to understand, I don't exactly have an overabundance of motivation or incentive to do that much right now in terms of helping, giving this insight into somebody's chart. Because a lot of times, the only time, in many instances, the only time people write me is for that reason. It's never about Edwin, hardly ever about Edwin. I'm worried about you. What's going on with your living situation, Edwin? I think the last time someone even wrote me, I thought that was about a year ago, if that. Because I was even going through my Facebook messages, and I was trying hard to find something where somebody wrote me and contacted me and actually showed genuine concern. Lo and behold, imagine that. And people wonder why I don't respond a lot anymore to things, to inquiries. Why am I unresponsive? Well, that should tell you something right there, people. When people show their apathy and lack of empathy or what have you, forgive me, I don't feel I have the incentive. I don't really have to do anything, for anybody. Don't get me wrong, I'm a believer. I like to be charitable and benevolent, and when I choose, sometimes I will help people out, and I don't, expect a lot of reciprocation or anything, but, I just would want more gratitude in terms of just inquiring, reaching out to me, being in touch, telling me you care, showing me something. I'm not telepathic. I might have a fairly strong, water chart, but it doesn't mean that I know when someone's caring. Only way I'm gonna know is if the person actually reaches out to me and says, okay, Eddie, I'm concerned. Eddie, I'm worried about you. I think a lot of it is because we're dominated by self-interest. We've become very engrossed in our own activities, and sometimes some people get lost in the crowd. They just kind of, they're like a blip on the radar screen that just kind of falls off, and you become less significant as time goes on. People forget sometimes. I understand that they got their own life and their own interests, but after a while you get tired though. Of being that person that's got to be the savior, that's got to help this person. And what you get in return is just being forgotten about, basically. Being thrown under the proverbial rug, and it's not right. And, for me, if I can't get anyone to love me or care for me, I got to love myself, and I got to show some self-respect, right? And I got to say, hey, I don't need to be that close to that person. If they're not going to show even a remote interest in me, why am I gonna why would I respond to them when they need some kind of astrological insight? And it's tied in, I guess you'd say, a little bit of misconceptions about me, because a lot of people may think that I have people in my life, a lot of people that actually care, when the reality is they really, I really at this point don't think they do. Anyway, the next thing I want to get at is that, people, you got to understand, a lot of people think just because I do the YouTube astrology videos that I'm well off, affluent. No, I'm actually at least close to poverty level income, and right now it looks like I'm going to be relegated. I may be relegated to a living situation in which I won't even be allowed to have visitors. It's going to have some restrictions on it. And because of the situation, because it's something that I can get at a relatively low price. And of course, you get what you pay for. If you're going to get something at a frugal, at a lower rate or what have you, you're going to have certain restrictions and limitations. And That is one of them. You know, and that's where things are going right now. Things are starting to go really rock bottom for me. About the diminished viewership, I've told you about that in another video, and that didn't even do any good apparently, because I'm looking at the views. Guess what? They're all under, a lot of them are under 100. I had one that was like, I don't know what it was like. I don't know, it was like 38 or 44 or something. I think I had one that was under 50 views. I may have, but there, whatever it was well under the 100, and they're in that 2-digit mark. I'm like that mayhem guy again, right? Tens and tens of views, and who would have thunk it? Again, after about 11 years of doing these videos, that things are going in the opposite direction. Maybe the man upstairs, and no, I'm not talking about anybody that might be laying on the roof above me, could be trying to tell me something. And maybe there's some time where you got to make some change, and things are all, when a lot of things are starting to go in a negative direction, it might be someone trying to, the man upstairs trying to tell me it might be time for something different. Now, I'm not saying I'm just going to eradicate, the astrology completely or anything, but it does make you wonder what's actually going on. Why is everything going down for me all of a sudden? Hold on a moment, people. You know what I'm going to say. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway. The next thing I want to get at is that, you look at, and I'm trying to read my own writing. I told you about the no response to the recent Colorado video. I talked about the poverty level, and though the thing was about the Facebook thing, I think I already went through that. Is that hardly anybody ever writes me even anymore on there for whatever, and inexplicably, people, the communications have just died down, and some people, again, like I was talking about before, is that I don't respond to some messages, because a lot of the messages that I receive, they're inquiries regarding their chart, and they want to have some information, and I just feel at this point, forgive me, but I don't have the exuberance and enthusiasm right now to be looking into it. Maybe things, and it's possible things in my own life get better. Excuse me, maybe I'll be able to have more motivation and incentive to do such. Now, another thing too is that, the thing about this is that really, what else do I want to really get at? What I wanted to say is that, this part is not really about, misconceptions of me. Is that, we have to remember, people, is that life, and we most of us know this, but I want to, show how I'm really living proof of this, that life is never going to be fair. Renowned actor Matthew McConaughey made a statement about that one time. He had a very good point. And, the thing is, although it's a little easier to say that when you have prosperity like he has, and you're well known, and you have, most of what you want in your life. A situation like mine, I saw something one time, right? I had somebody on Facebook, friend of mine, made a post about they couldn't understand, how this person had done some, adverse things to somebody, and they were having a better life and more enjoyment or whatever than he or she was. Well, and it goes back to the life, not being fair. Here I am, right? I live a scrupulous existence. I'm not bothering anybody. I have a lot of good qualities. I think I don't do any drugs, no alcohol. I don't even smoke cigarettes. But yet, people shy away from me. I still don't have a significant other. I may not ever have one. I have very few friends in the outside world. Well, and maybe even a lot of that falls on me because I've become very introverted and reclusive over the years. You know, people have in some cases, people have distanced themselves from me for whatever reason, where I never really understood the full nature of it, maybe, in some cases. But what it comes down to is, people still have to remember, it's not about the quality of person you are, about what's going to really determine, the happiness and the things you have. If you don't, do certain things at a certain time, it comes back on you sometimes. And sometimes it's just about bad things happening to, good people. I think it was my grandma told me one time, she said something about, I think she stated it was Mother Teresa, who was like, very angelic and holy, and she was going through all kinds of adversity and tribulation. So it's not, you know, it's not about the quality of the person. If it was about if my life was based on who I was and the kind of person I am, I would have a regular existence. I'd have a significant other. I'd probably have at least one child. I'd have a really nice home. I'd have a much better existence. But what's happened is my life has almost been pretty much relegated to just practically confinement and not hardly having anybody. A lot of people just don't accept me. Some of this is because I think as I'm from New York and I'm in a southern state, it's a little judgy here in Nashville, I would say. People talk about all the benevolence and the goodwill and the kindness of everybody. But when you're an outsider, it can be a little bit harder to get to ingratiate yourself, to integrate with the people that are here, because a lot of it is just the commonality is not there. Like, for example, here a lot of it, people emphasize the college sports, where I'm more about, being a pro sports fan. And the thing really is that, and again, just because someone's a nice person doesn't mean they're going to have all the nice things and the riches, in life. And people have to really readily understand all that. And, I really don't understand. And, there's another thing too. Some things in life we just will happen to us, and we just never know. I call this, I don't know if I would, I talk about the lack of, a lot of people, misconception could be that I get a lot of support from others, when the reality is I may not. And, here's an example of what I would call, maybe partial support. Somebody wrote me, and I don't know when it was exactly, it might have been close to 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I forget precisely when. And they wrote me an interesting message on my Facebook, and it stated something like, Edwin, I need to inform you that something's happening that concerns you. And what happened was, no pun intended, is that when I was getting ready to respond to her, and what do you think? I'm blocked. I think the person got cold feet and didn't want to elaborate and expound on what she was saying. I tried looking for her on other social media sites, and I wrote her on one other site. I think it was Instagram, and I never got a response. And so I think what happened probably in that instance is that the woman got a little bit scared. It was probably something negative regarding me. It could have been somebody, was going to do something, maybe, hateful, whether it was to my, maybe bring my reputation down on YouTube or whatever it was going to be. And, and I think what it was, she didn't want to get involved. And, that, what's funny about that too, when you talk about the support, what bothers me is that if she had known about something like this, that means other people had known, right? I mean, it's common sense that other people known and no one else ever contacted me. about this. So what's really funny is that, you know, you have a lot of people that are scared, I think, and what it is, you know, these people, you know, they take they call it being neutral. So they just don't get involved, or they don't inform people. If somebody is going to maybe do something that might be to their detriment, they just, you know, turn the blind eye basically and don't even say anything. And I wouldn't be surprised if at least one person that is watching this video knew something about that, but never actually came to me and said, Edwin, you know, you need to know this, Ed, I want to help you. So this is tied into the misconceptions about me, that I have all this surfeit and abundance of support, where it couldn't be further from the truth. I've been isolated. Now, I've isolated myself to some degree. Don't get me wrong. You know, yada yada, the disabling the comments and this and that, which is a little bit overstated, because there's always ways to, you know, reach out. And even having the comments disabled, there are still ways to contact and communicate with others. What we do, sadly, is we often just make conscious choices, and we say, you know, and people might have shied away from me, you know, for some reasons that I might never know. And I tell people, and you know, when I talk about, you know, the diminished viewership, and I don't mean to be redundant again, but some of that has to do, I believe, you know, with something else too. Again, that I never had that signature video. You know, luck, I know we create our own luck for the most part, right, people? But sometimes a little luck, some things are fortuitous, and we get, it's like, you know, that little, remember the lucky, you know, deflection that Franco Harris got, and he made that immaculate reception and ran it in for the touchdown. You know, sometimes we have to be, you know, it's the right place, the right time, the right person seeing the video. And again, in almost 11 years of doing these astrology videos, I have not had the signature video that really propelled me. And now what's happening is things are just going downhill. You're just, I mean, almost every time I'm looking at my, you know, the last 30 days, the viewership, it seems like it's going down, down, down. And, you know, there might not be much I could do about it at this point. I can't, you know, make people watch the videos, you know. At the same time, maybe it gives me an excuse, you know, not to go all out on them if that's going to be the case, you know. If you're getting one video, you know, if the videos are only getting like, you know, 60, 70 views on average, you know, the Sinistry videos, then what's the point, right? You know, I don't know if I have the answers anymore. But that's what I wanted to get at, people. And, you know, the reality is that, you know, we become, I think, a lot of this unresponsiveness I've received, whether it's to the fundraiser, whether it's to the Colorado video, whether it's just my viewership in general responding in a way by watching the video instead of ignoring it, you know, to help out a little. You know, a lot of that is just apathy. You know, it's about people not really being overly concerned. You know, people use the excuse, we got our own lives to live and this and that, and, you know, and we just we forget about the people, about other people sometimes. And, you know, I become sadly just a little blip on the radar that just might have fallen off for a lot of people. And, you know, it's hard to believe that 5 years ago I was actually doing much better with the video, with the viewership than I am now. You would think things would be escalating, not diminishing, but it's going in backwards manner for whatever reason. I'm really wondering if some of this has to do with my, you know, transit Uranus conjoining my ascendant, with all these things practically simultaneously going in a direction that I don't think they should be even going in. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube, guess you could say, somewhat astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.